Welcome back to First Take. You know, the race for the AFC North is going to come down to a pivotal Thanksgiving night matchup between Lamar Jackson and the Ravens against a newly healthy Joe Burrow and the Bengals. Lamar has been dealing with some injuries himself, missing practice earlier this week, but he is set to play on Thursday. Unfortunately for Lamar, I can't even keep up with all the injuries. We got a new one, different body part every single week, like a game of operation. Peter, are the Ravens legit Super Bowl contenders at this point?
At this point, no. If they win on Thursday, I'm willing to put them in the conversation. Consider this. They were 1-5 when they played the Bears a few weeks ago. They won that game with Snoop Huntley. They have won 5 straight games, and they haven't looked good doing it. We haven't even seen them scratch the surface of what we hope they can be, and they still found a way to win 5 games. They're 6-5. They're in first place in the AFC North. They're expected to be in the playoffs. In their schedule coming up, they still have the Bengals twice and the Steelers twice. Then you go from there, and you also have New England, Green Bay. If you're telling me that this team can go ahead and run this table, that would mean they had won 5 straight, add in 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 straight games going into the playoffs. And we haven't even seen them play Ravens football yet. You know, John Harbaugh has a famous saying, says, it's not pretty, it's not perfect, it's us. Well, it hasn't been pretty. It has been far from perfect, and yet they're stacking the wins. They have a tough competition this weekend. They play on Thursday night against Joe Burrow and this Bengals team. They start rattling off these wins. I've covered the 2007 Giants. I've covered the 2010 Packers, where they don't look good up until Thanksgiving, and then suddenly it's like, wait a second, they're finally healthy, they've gotten it going, and now they've got a little momentum going. They're not Super Bowl contenders right now. They don't belong in the same conversation as the Rams or even some of these other teams in the AFC. You win on Thursday night, that's 6 straight wins. Lamar gets another one under his belt, gets a little healthy with a long stretch. I would say maybe, just maybe, this might be one of those hot teams.
Yeah, I got to see a lot more than beating the Cincinnati Bengals, who are 3-8 and are awful. And even if Burrow does come back, their offense has not been a problem. Their defense is terrible. So beating the Bengals on Thursday, to me, won't mean a lot. Listen, they beat the Bears, they've beaten the Dolphins, Minnesota, Cleveland, and the Jets in the last 5 weeks for this 5-game winning streak. They were in trouble with the Jets. They trailed in the third quarter. The Browns could have won, for crying out loud.
Sure.
I mean, so when you think about it, I just have not been nearly as impressed as you think you would be with a 5-game winning streak. Here's the issue to me. Lamar's, whatever it is, as Shae said during the break, whether it's ankle, hamstring, he's not 100. He missed 4 or 5. He missed 3-4 games. Oh. He's not 100%. And if you are not 100% and he can't run, that dual threat, because he is an incredible runner.
He's not running.
And he can't do that. That makes him half the quarterback than he would normally be. And they're not winning any Super Bowl unless he's at 100% and he can run.
Well, I definitely believe that they don't have a shot if he's not 100% and he can run. He said that even though he's missed a few games this year because of the toe injury, he said that somebody fell on him during the Jets game, and that's what was ailing him, but he's feeling all right now. We'll know what the truth is based on his performance in the weeks to come. It really, really comes down to his health. I believe if he's healthy, they're a Super Bowl threat. They win the AFC North, and once they win in the AFC North, you got an entirely new season. And when you talk about their defense being awful, their defense has not been awful over the last few weeks. It started out awful over the first 6, 7 weeks, giving up over 35 points a game. They were horrible, but they've been significantly better ever since, doggy. And so I look at it from that standpoint, and I look at the weapons that they still have, and I look at the potential that these dudes in a one-or-done situation, they can answer the call against anybody. And this is the interesting thing that I would throw out there, Peter, and Shae as well. Usually there's a whole bunch of expectations heaped on the shoulders of the Baltimore Ravens. They'd be playing with house money to some degree. This year, it would be a little bit different. To start out 1-5, to be considered dead and gone, for people to be booing them, for John Harbaugh's future in Baltimore to be being talked about. All of those things are happening. And then to go from that to winning 5 straight and being tied with the Steelers for first take in the AFC North, I think is incredibly significant. And I think that to turn that around and to find yourself in that situation where you all of a sudden get to the playoffs after a 1-5 start, considering how the Colts have looked, how the Patriots have looked, Jacksonville to a lesser degree, definitely Denver, the Chargers to a lesser degree, the Chiefs still being in the mix, etc. For Baltimore to find themselves in a playoff scenario, it could be very, very, very interesting because I don't think that we'll be talking about them the way that we did in the past with those expectations. And it would be interesting to see how they perform under those different circumstances.
Good news is Lamar Jackson, 21-7 in primetime games. He's very good against Joe Burrow and the Bengals. Bad news is they're 1-2 so far this season. One of the more anticipated matchups on Thanksgiving Day is when Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs head to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. Both teams counting their blessings because a path to the playoffs still exists, with the Chiefs entering Thanksgiving 8% chance to win the Super Bowl. Still, according to our analytics, that's fourth highest percentage of any other team. The Cowboys, on the other hand, have just an 8% chance too, but that is for them to make the playoffs. So exact same, Chiefs to win the Super Bowl, Cowboys just to simply make the playoffs. Kmart's with us now. Kimberly Martin is here. And so which is more likely, the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl or just the Cowboys making it into the dance?
This is tough, but I'm going to say Cowboys making it into the dance because I think part of it for me, the calculus is the Eagles. And I thought the Eagles would run away with that division. And instead, yes, their record is good, but I don't have the same level of confidence in them. Whereas the Cowboys, you know, when you check in on Dallas, like I had a coach tell me that 21-point deficit that they had against Philly, they came back and Schottenheimer literally was like instilling the confidence in them, saying everybody believed we can come back one play at a time. 21 points. The old Cowboys, I feel like that would have been it. They would have completely imploded, and instead their new head coach has them in a position of we can beat anybody. With the Chiefs, I don't know. They still have Patrick Mahomes, but it just looks so hard. And when their offense, everything just seems really hard. Patrick is not playing as well as he had been. And you look at Dak Prescott, him and Matthew Stafford playing the best QB of anybody right now, best ball. So I'm going to say Cowboys because getting into the playoffs seems a little bit easier than the Chiefs taking it all the way through the AFC to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's a very tricky call. You could go either way. I'm going to say the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. First off, if they make the playoffs, that AFC postseason's wide open. We don't know about Denver's offense. Drake May's a young player, and obviously Indianapolis just showed you some warts. And if they get into the postseason, they need 11 to do it because they don't have tiebreaker. You know, with Mahomes, they'd have any chance to win a game. Dallas's problem to me, San Francisco, Seattle, and the Rams, they're going to make the playoffs. Green Bay, Chicago, and Detroit, excellent chance to make the playoffs. And then Tampa, Philly. There's no room for Dallas because you got the three teams in the NFC West and you got the three good teams in the NFC North. And how many teams can get in? There's not as many. So Dallas would have to maybe run the table to get in. And at the very least, go 10-6-1. And that may not even be enough because 11-5 might be the team.
Do you not think they can run the table? When you're playing Detroit, Vikings, Chargers.
They can win the last. Well, the Charger game is hard. The Lion game is hard. And tomorrow's hard. So they got 3 hard games winning. That Giant game, last game of the year, Giants have been very competitive.
Yes.
They'd love to knock them out. So I would say Chiefs. I think it's close. I think it's good odds that you could definitely make your answer there with Dallas. Schottenheimer's done a good job. But, Stevie, I'll say Chiefs winning the Super Bowl.
That tie, too, against an NFC team is tough for Dallas.
Yes, exactly.
The question is laughable. I'm not talking about the producers. It just makes me laugh. So the choice that I have to pick is between the Chiefs managing to figure out a way to do what they normally do, or the Dallas Cowboys managing a way to avoid what they usually do. Good luck with that. I'm going with the Chiefs to answer to this question, okay? I think they're going to beat the Dallas Cowboys on Thanksgiving, ruin Thanksgiving for the Dallas Cowboy fans. Nothing pleases me more. And then after that, Dallas will probably win the final 5 games. I think they can win the final 5 games and end up 10-6-1, but still, that's not going to be enough in all likelihood. And why would that be? Because you lost to Chicago, you tied with Green Bay, okay? You lost to Carolina, all right? Even though Arizona's not in the mix, you lost to them too. 2 of the teams ahead of you lost to. Another team you tied with, okay? And I can't see you catching the Eagles for the division crown. So for me, that's how I look at it. I think that the Dallas Cowboys making the playoffs is an absolute long shot, whereas if the Chiefs win this game and they decide to go on a run of their own, there's room for them within the AFC to overtake a few of those cats and to end up as a wild card. I don't think they win the AFC West either. But I do think they'll get in as a wild card. So I think the Chiefs are the answer to this question. just because of history alone.
What's wild is this question should have probably been, which team do you trust more? Because it feels like we're banking on Kansas City even making the playoffs. They're not a shoo-in right now. They have to win some games here. There's not a lot of wiggle room for either of these teams, but I feel like everyone just banks on Kansas City figuring it out in the months of December and January.
You're leaning on past history. The problem is, and I've been one to do that because of 15, right? But if you just look at the Chiefs and how they're playing, if you did not know that they were the Kansas City Chiefs and just watch them on tape, you'd be like, oh, like the quarterback just doesn't see, like easy throws, like just the offense, like the run, all of it. I don't know. It's hard to rule out the Chiefs, but if you just look at how they played this year, there's no guarantee that they'll be able to pull off what they've pulled off in the past.
I think Dallas has a little more momentum right now.
Right. Like
They
in a row.
won against the Raiders. Great comeback. Even last week, Kim, I know you were at the Cincinnati game. They didn't play that great against the Colts. They were very lucky to get out of that game.
Yeah.
They were lucky. I didn't walk away saying, wow, the Chiefs are back. But I did walk away from the Dallas game saying to myself, wow, Dallas, this is a miracle win. They have that intangible going right now with the terrible tragedy. There's a lot of life. They got 2 good receivers. Schedule's a little easier. Chiefs have to play the Chargers in Denver.
They got they've got
Their
defensive
defense, they made a couple trades.
Yes.
So
Okay, so
I get a sense that Dallas has an opportunity.
Let's argue against Kansas City. Are Jerry's moves at the trade deadline now validated? Stephen A., what do you think?
I think to some degree it is. When you look at the way the defense has looked, I mean, listen, I don't think that Kenny Clark and 2 late first-round picks qualify for a replacement for Micah Parsons. But then when you look at acquiring Quinnen Williams and the way that he's been balling since he's arrived, Logan Wilson, and you look at Overshown being back and how their defense has looked overall, there's no denying that there's vast improvement. And you look at the fact they've given up 90. This is a team that anybody could run on. And suddenly over the last 2 games, they've given up a grand total of 90 yards rushing. And so we see the impact that Williams has had on that defense and how they look, how much better they look. And if they continue to look this way as a defense, okay, then I don't think anybody's going to be able to look at them and fault them for not giving Micah Parsons $47 to $48 million, especially when you went up against them and it was a tie on the books where you dropped 40 on Green Bay's defense. And so, and your defense wasn't anything like it is now. And so we got to look at those things and say to ourselves, yeah, that it does look better. The only potential hiccup, though, is that trading Micah Parsons, what did it cost you in terms of the games where your defense was so awful? Had you been better earlier, you wouldn't be in this predicament. That would be one thing to hold against Jerry, but not anything else.
The issue for Dallas isn't so much that they're playing better than Kansas City, it's the NFC. Because the NFC's got 6 really good teams. Looks like the Bears, they got 8 wins. Green Bay is 7-3-1. They have, listen, they got a good defense. The Lions, you have to figure out a way to win 10 games. Then, of course, they got Seattle, the Rams, and the Niners. All have 8 wins. Rams have 9. So to make the playoffs is harder for them than for the Chiefs to make the playoffs. And then once the Chiefs get in, who's going to bet against Mahomes in a playoff game, no matter where the game is? That's why I think the Chiefs are the better play.
So the question of are the moves validated, Jerry's moves validated? I give Jerry credit for pivoting because he was prepared to give Micah money. And then he decided, oh, no, I'm not going to do it. And I felt like he had to do something. He had because of that Micah decision, he saw his defense faltering. He saw Mike Eberflus's defense struggling to start the season, and he had to make a move. I thought when he got Quinnen, Kenny, all that, those were moves that would help them next season. I've been impressed. 2 games that Quinnen's been there. They've got guys back that were banged up. Now they're healthy. They've won 2 in a row. The pass rush, the QB pressures, the rushing yards allowed, all of that is what you wanted to see from the start of the season. So I don't know if it might be too little too late, but they have a great foundation where you may be, if you're a Cowboys fan, you're not feeling as bad that we lost Micah because you see the fruits of the labor. But again, Jerry did have to pivot.
Yes, I think if the Cowboys make the playoffs and Green Bay does not,
Jerry's going to be insufferable.
That would be wild. But that is when we could all say, okay, Jerry, look what's going on.